Hello and welcome to this update video. Since my last video, I made a lot of changes and additions, so let's go over them. First of all, welcome to the main menu. As you can also notice, I have decided on a name for the game. Although the logo is not final, I feel it's a nice fit considering the rest of the game's context. I spent some time crafting this menu to reflect the mood and setting of the game, as well as the personality of the main character. As the game takes place in the 1990s, currently, the game has only the new game, options, and quit functionalities working, but I have set up the rest for the future. I created a simple transition to go between scenes and I think is nice to start with, as I plan to have multiple in the future. In the options menu, I added the basic options, including things like screen shake, which the game now utilizes. I'm really satisfied with the way they both turned out and I can't wait to keep working on them in the future. The game will make use of scenery like this to tell its story, as well as small animated cutscenes in the style of old games such as Ninja Gaiden, to be able to deliver the story in a short and straightforward way. Many other cutscenes will occur throughout and others will include simple in-game dialogues. This is made not only to shorten the time I will spend making cutscenes, but for the sake of the player, as they will be able to skip those cutscenes and get quickly into the action, without completely losing track of what is going on in the story. Now, let's talk about the in-game improvements I made as well. Firstly, I created a simple UI which shows the currently slotted techniques the player is using. This currently only displays the basic description, but it will contain things such as the keybind, more specific stats and the current upgrades for each one. This menu will contain 3 tabs, one for the techniques, player stats, and finally a map/others tab. Currently, I just made the framework for it and still a lot of work to be done. Speaking of work to be done, the main UI that I currently use is probably gonna change as well. As I want to align the new technique UI with the underlying one so the player can look at their health and energy during this menu, and both blend together better. Let's now talk about other additions. I added effects to the 2 existing techniques as well as other camera effects such as zoom and panning for other actions such as knockdown and parry. I also added 2 new techniques in order to start expanding on the combat system. A shock technique which teleports the player to a nearby enemy and stuns for a short duration, as well as an apex technique, the equivalent of an ultimate skill, but I haven't drawn the effect yet. Now, in order for me to keep adding more and more techniques, as well as start adding and finishing the enemies, I needed a clear way to balance them out in a way that made sense to the player, so I came up with a system for designing techniques which will not only make it easier to build around and specialize, but also create them. I will be using the previously established resistance system, which uses physical, pyro, frost and shock attributes. These attributes are already working in-game, and I can add any amount of any type of damage to techniques, such as making abilities pyro, shock, or any combination of them, and entities will be able to mitigate specific damage types. With this in mind, I came with a general way to design techniques based on their attribute. For physical, I decided to focus on heavy crowd control and more balanced damage output. Pyro will be the attribute of full damage, focusing on slow but strong techniques with some potential of risk-reward such as health costs. Frost will mostly have defensive techniques as well as soft control, such as slows and shield/regeneration abilities, and finally shock, which will focus on fast-paced and mobility with the drawback of having a low damage output. This set of simple rules allow me to keep track of what kind of effect a technique will have, while not being completely strict. It also allows the addition of multiple attribute ones, where 2 or more elements are dealt at the same time. After all that, is now time to improve a few things for my next update, starting with a couple of more techniques. The next goal will be to finish the current enemy with proper animations and effects, as well as adding a second one. After that, I will start constructing the rooms, that will allow to generate stages and move between them. Then, I will work on adding the vendor, one of the main ways to obtain new techniques. With that, I think that's all I got for this update. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want to see what's next on the table for this game, as well as comment ideas and feedback. See you in the next update.